Rob Kendall along with Tyler Bless, the head coach of the Plainfield Quakers. Coach, how's it going?
Doing okay. How are you?
I'm great. All right. So obviously the result we weren't looking for yesterday. Let's first of all start with the decision Friday to cancel the game and how, if at all, you think that factored into what took place on Saturday.
Yeah, going back to Friday, probably around lunchtime, we were in talks with Decatur Central and their admin team. Um, our stance was that both teams wanted to play on Friday night. I think more of it was a transportation, maybe safety issue, but we kind of had a plan, and they had a plan on how to get here. So our plan was to play on Friday night. Leaving school around 3 o'clock, it was still the plan. At that point in the afternoon, we were, I think, the only two mid-state schools that were scheduled to play. And then at about 4 o'clock, I get a call from our athletic director, and really the Avon and the Brownsburg schools and their conference had just canceled or postponed their games to Saturday. So we kind of followed suit with that, and then we're able to find officials for Saturday afternoon at 3:30. So that was the delay in terms of the start time on Saturday, just because of the official shortage that occurs when you try to play a high school game on a Saturday with college games going around and everybody else with their busy schedules.
So obviously the game is the game, right? But does that factor into anything? I mean, it's sort of like a weird universe to be playing in the middle of the day on a weekend. Does that distract? How do you guys kind of pivot? How do you get ready for a game on Saturday?
Yeah, we had our players come in yesterday morning to the field house, and we did a walkthrough and got really just to get them out of bed, make sure that they're awake. Went through some offense, defense, some special team stuff, and then we're able to send them back home and hopefully get something in their stomach and eat and relax. And then they were back here in the afternoon. But one of those things that, as a coach, and trying to tell your players, like, you can't control everything. You can't control Mother Nature, obviously. But we could control our attitude and our effort and our actions and our behavior. So that was what we were kind of preaching to our kids. Would we prefer to play on Friday night at 7? Yes. But sometimes those things are out of your control, and you just have to adjust and adapt and overcome.
So let's talk about the ball game, and let's talk about the positive first. Obviously, you guys got down big early, made a nice comeback, really got back in the ball game, and then obviously a very long kick return for a score happened. But let's talk about the ability to bounce back, get back in that ball game, and we had a battle at 20-14, I believe, at one point.
Yeah, I mean, we were able to really stay in the fight. I think what was one of the critical plays was, we were down 7-14. We had the ball with about 2.5 minutes to go. We were backed up, running outside zone, and their player makes a nice play, ripping the ball out. We fumble and they turn it into points. That's something that I thought was a big momentum swing. Obviously, being down 13 at half. Unfortunately, we've been there before, so it wasn't something that was new to us. But our sense of urgency obviously had to pick up in the second half. I thought our defense was able to get a stop coming out of halftime. We were able to turn it into points, and then we're about a yard or 2 yards short of having a touchback, and their guy made a nice play and took it to the house. So that was obviously another critical moment in the game that we were not able to capitalize and execute.
Yeah, let's talk about that. When those big momentum plays, you put all that effort in. You guys clearly fight to get back in the ball game, like you said. You have the nice defensive stop. Talk a little bit about how what do you say to the kids after that? How do you respond to that? Because you put so much effort in to getting back into this ball game, like we discussed, and then one play, and now they're up multiple scores again.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it goes back to, I mean, you got to do your job. Like, we have a kicker, and that his job is to do his job, and we're not going to yell at him for, I would hit is not the appropriate word, but probably not getting all of the kickoff. But there's still plenty of time for us to execute and go down the field and score and continue to fight. We're not just going to give up because we gave up a kickoff return for a touchdown, and now we're down, multiple scores. We're not going to wave the white flag. You got to keep playing. You got to keep, fighting for, obviously, yourself and your teammates and what you stand for as a person. So that was something that obviously echoed through our sidelines, but we were able to find ways to compete in the game. We were able to move the ball. We were able to stop them when we needed to. But we had a lot of self-inflicted wounds that cost us the game. If you look at the stats, we're kind of right where we want to be in terms of running the ball. We were able to throw it a little bit more than we had to. But I thought Bryce and the receivers and the O-line protected well, and the backs and the guys that got the ball in their hands did a good job. But when you turn the ball over 3 times and you're not very good on third down, you're not going to win the football game.
Yeah, so is that the takeaway from the ball game, which is, hey, we kind of did this to ourselves? I mean, Decatur Central's a good football team. We talked about that last week heading into the ball game with the coaches show. But is that kind of the takeaway of, hey, at least the silver lining is we did this to ourselves. If we don't do this again, we may win that encounter next time.
Certainly. I mean, you look at the stats and you look at what we're able to do maybe in that first half, and you don't ever want to play the what if game because it happened, and you have to look off of the facts. And we fumbled the football inside, not the red zone, but in that close area on a drive that we had the ball moving. Turned it over right before half, like I said, and then fumbled going into the end zone, I believe in the fourth quarter. So we've got to take care of ourselves, and we've got to be better with the ball. We've got to continue to execute our stuff, and we've got to be able to set edges on defense and tackle in the perimeter. But looking at all 3 phases, we certainly gave them opportunities for them to take from us, and we didn't capitalize, and they did, and that's why they won the football game.
All right, let's thank our sponsors that make our broadcast possible all year long. Remax Centerstone, Julia Burbridge, Gannell Financial, Crone Family Construction, My TND, Ryan Grimes, I-70 Wrecker Service and Garage, BGW Construction, LLC, Legacy Motorsports, Crest Point Real Estate, Chris Pearson, Selwith Jones, the Stewart Home Group, and Ellis and Associates. So we used to talk with Coach Woodard about this quite a bit. He had some good teams that were, undefeated or one-loss teams heading late into the season. You'd have a loss. And we'd say, look, you want to go undefeated, you want to win your conference, but ultimately what happens in October and November is kind of how you get judged for the year. Is there some silver lining in this to tell your team, better that it happened now, learn from this so that we don't make those mistakes when we get into sectional and hopefully regional play and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna show up to work tomorrow. We're showing up to work right now. We've got to obviously play a game here in the next couple of days versus a good conference opponent. So it's not the sky's falling, the end of the world. Nobody likes to lose; it sucks. But you got to, in failing, there's an opportunity for you to grow and look at what you need to improve on and how I can lead our football program better. But our goals are still in front of us. We still have opportunities to do what we said we wanted to do, but we've got to show up and we've got to do the work, and we've got to be able to get ready to go for a game next Friday.
Well, let's talk about Franklin. As you said, we're going to be on the road. How do you or do you change anything on what is essentially becomes a short week with one fewer day to prepare?
Yeah, tomorrow will be a little unique. Just obviously we've got to review some of our film versus Decatur game, and then we've got to quickly turn the page to Franklin. So our Monday will be the same in terms of our times, but in terms of how we chunk that up will be a little bit different. Tuesday, Wednesday's a big work day for us, and then Thursday's kind of a primer and more mental reps than physical reps. But we're going into week 7. Every team in Indiana probably has a good idea of who they are and who their opponents are and what their DNA is. Are we still going to run the ball? Yes. Are we going to still try to stop the run? Yes. Those are things that we're going to hang our hats on in this program. So overall, not a huge clean sweep of throwing stuff out, but really just fine-tuning stuff and making sure that our kids are doing their job to the best of their abilities.
Well, let's talk about that real quick. We're 2/3 of the way through the regular season already. Let's talk about some of the things that you say, hey, I know what we are now. I like what we are. Take a couple areas of the football game on both sides of the ball if you want and say, I'm really happy where our football team is 2/3 of the way into the season.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to we've got some veteran guys on both sides of the football, and a lot of those kids are at O-line and D-line. We've got kids that have played a lot of games for us. We've surrounded a young, inexperienced quarterback with experienced running backs and an experienced tight end group and O-line. Our receivers are continuing to get better each week. I think that showed last night and yesterday's game of, getting the ball out to them and making plays. Defensively, I do feel good about our defense. Our D line still is probably our strong point on that end of the football. We're slightly banged up a little bit at inside linebacker, but hoping to get guys healthy again. And then on the back end, I mean, we have who we have. Those kids are going to continue to be coached. They're going to continue to get better, and they've got to play. I mean, we've got to learn from yesterday and move and grow in a direction that wants us to be successful next Friday.
Same thing. We're a couple areas where you say, "Hey, we're 5-1, but man, we could do better at whatever it is."
Yeah, I think how we probably structure our practice. We try to truly kind of chunk it into a game, and our big thing is we need to continue to practice how we're going to play, and we need to take those mental / physical reps on a Tuesday, Wednesday, like we would on a Friday night. So that'll probably be the challenge for our kids this week is, don't need to have more reps, but need to have a little bit more laser focus and attention to details on the little things. Example would be ball security. Example would be setting an edge on defense. Two things that we struggled at yesterday. So chance to grow, chance to get better, and we'll continue to coach our kids until somebody throws us out or tells us our season's over.
Yeah, I've been saying that in my day job for years, Coach. You just keep showing up until somebody throws you
There
out.
you
It's fine.
go.
Real quick, I'm just curious. The speech to the kids today, how does it compare in a loss versus a win, or is there any difference? Or take us behind the scenes and talk about how you address a game like that with the kids in the kind of the immediate aftermath.
Yeah, what we said yesterday was, we get to decide on how we want to respond, and that's coaches included. Our coaching staff is here right now on a Sunday getting ready for next week. We'll see our kids tomorrow at school in APC class, and then obviously in the afternoon. But we get to decide on how we respond and what we want to do. We can go two ways. Obviously, that one way is to be a man and grow and get better, and the other way is to be a coward and blame somebody else and not take fault, which I don't think was going to happen in this program. But if we do things right and we do things the way that we say we will, we'll have an opportunity to play that team again and come tournament time and hopefully have a different outcome.
All right, let's wrap up the show as we always do. Let's take us behind the scenes of Plainfield football. Somebody or someone's who really help make the program what it is, don't always get a lot of attention.
Yeah, I think this one would be appropriate just given the delay of the game and everything that kind of goes on behind the scenes. But there's a young guy in our corporation. His name's Ben Martin. He's our janitor, custodian. He's the only one. Him and another lady clean our locker room, and they try to keep it as nice as possible. And we're talking about over 100 kids, 15, 18 years old. It's not always what you would like it to be. It's something we harp on them all the time, but just the people that go above and beyond the call of duty and kind of making sure that our kids have the best facilities in the conference and in the region. We're very blessed to have a building that's detached from the school that kind of serves as our quote unquote football building. But the resources we have and the people that take care of this building, I have a lot of respect for them and appreciate what they do for not only our coaching staff, but for our kids in our building. They do a phenomenal job, and they're always, looking for people, but they always show up and they do what they do their best. And we really appreciate what they do for us.
All right, Coach. Well, let's get back to winning ways. Let's get a big win on Friday night at Franklin, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week here on the program.
Okay. Sounds good.